Hello. There are many features in the MQGem product MO71. In today's video, we are going to illustrate the APIExerciser. The APIExerciser is provided to allow you to make MQ API calls through a graphical interface. This makes the testing of specific options and details and the inspection of generated reason codes quick and easy prior to writing the code for an application. Clearly, it is not an appropriate tool to write an application for a production system, but it is an excellent tool for trying things out in a development or sandbox arena. You can start the APIExerciser from the main MO71 window via the Action menu or by pressing F9. In the APIExerciser, each MQ API verb is provided on a tab. When using the exerciser, the basic operation is to switch to the tab for the verb you wish to issue. Then fill in the appropriate fields within that tab. If there are structures associated with the verb, there will be a section for parameters and a separate section for each structure. Click on each of the structures and fill in appropriate fields within the structure. Then, to make the MQ API call, press the button to issue the verb. There are a number of points that are common on each tab, regardless of which verb it is used for. Each tab will have a button labelled Issue MQ Verb, which you press when you are ready for the verb to be issued using all the information you have provided in the various fields within the tab. This button, along with the output fields for the verb, for example completion code and reason code, are shown at the bottom of the window, whichever structure you are looking at. There is an Advanced Mode checkbox at the bottom of the window. When this is checked, all verbs and all options are available to you to try, even if they don't make sense. This can be useful if you're looking at error conditions or trying to figure out why a particular reason code was seen. If you're trying to make working MQ API calls though, leave Advanced Mode off and the exerciser will try to lead you along a working route. There is a status bar at the very bottom of the window where messages will be written to indicate any obvious errors detected prior to the user pressing the Issue MQ Verb button. For example, unknown structure version numbers will be indicated here. In this video, we're going to step through a few of the verbs to illustrate how the exerciser is used. Starting on the MQCon tab, which to begin with is the only one available, choose a queue manager name from the drop-down which contains all the queue managers defined to MO71. Having chosen your queue manager name, press the Issue MQCon button and you will see the output fields are filled in with a completion code and reason code. If you have successfully connected to the queue manager, a connection handle will also be returned to you. It is interesting to know that you can double-click on the queue manager name field when it is populated with a queue manager name, and MO71 will display the queue manager attributes dialog. There's a very close tie-in with the APIExerciser and the other administrative features in MO71. Now we switch to the MQOpen tab. We can see that the connection handle that was returned to us on the MQCon call is already chosen for us on the MQOpen tab. If you make several connections to queue managers, this drop-down box allows you to choose the connection handle for the queue manager you want. The APIExerciser will label your connection handle with the name of the queue manager it is for to aid you. You will see this name in parentheses after the connection handle hexadecimal value. Select the open options you wish to use, holding down the Control key in order to select more than one. You can see the total number being added up for you in the field above the list of options. Keep an eye on the status line at the bottom of the window. If the APIExerciser detects a combination that is going to fail with MQRC options error, it will provide information there. Before clicking on the Issue MQOpen button, we will add some information in the object descriptor. Now click on the MQOD button to provide fields in the object descriptor structure. This structure comes pre-filled in the APIExerciser with the fields that would be in the C structure MQOD default if you were writing a C program. In the simplest case, all you need to do here is select an object name from the drop-down list and press the Issue MQOpen button. There are, of course, more fields that you can optionally use, and longer versions of the object descriptor which you can view by editing the structure version entry field. If you make lots of changes to the object descriptor and then want to start again, you can press the Reset MQOD to Default button, which will reset the fields to the values from the MQOD default C structure again. You can double-click on the object name field and MO71 will display the Object Details dialog. If you have typed in the name of a queue that doesn't exist, rather than selecting it from the drop-down list, this will bring up an empty dialog allowing you to define the queue through MO71. Since the object we opened in the previous step was a queue and we opened it with the MQOO output option, the MQPut tab will now be available to use. Switching to that tab, we see the object handle that was returned to us on the MQOpen call is already chosen for us on the MQPut tab. If you open several queues or topics for output, this drop-down box allows you to choose the object handle for the object you want. The APIExerciser will label your object handle with the name of the object it is for and the options it was opened with to aid you in picking the correct one. You will see these details in parentheses after the object handle hexadecimal value. Now click on the MQMD button to provide fields in the message descriptor structure. This structure comes pre-filled in the APIExerciser with the fields that would be in the C structure MQMD default if you were writing a C program. We will make one simple change. We will choose MQ format string in the format name dropdown. There are, of course, lots of fields that you can optionally use and a second version of the message descriptor which you can view by editing the structure version entry field. And if you make lots of changes to the message descriptor and want to start again, you can press the Reset MQMD to Default button, which will reset the fields to the values from the MQMD_default C structure again. Now click on the MQPMO button to provide fields in the Put Message Options structure. Select the Put Message options you wish to use, holding down the Control key in order to select more than one. You can see the total number being added up for you in the field above the list of options. Before clicking on the Issue MQPut button, we will fill in our message buffer. Now click on the Buffer button and type your message text in the Buffer entry field. The buffer length field will be automatically filled in with the length of the text you type, although you may edit it to be longer or shorter if you wish. Press the Issue MQPut button and check out the output fields that are now filled in your message descriptor and Put Message Options structures when the verb is issued successfully. Since the object we opened in the earlier step was a queue and we opened it with one of the MQOO input options, the MQGet tab will now be available to use. Switching to that tab, we see the object handle that was returned to us on the MQOpen call is already chosen for us on the MQGet tab. Fill in a value in the buffer length field. Before clicking on the Issue MQGet button, we will add some information in the message descriptor and the Get Message options. Now click on the MQMD button to provide fields in the message descriptor structure. This structure comes pre-filled in the APIExerciser with the fields that would be in the C structure MQMD default if you were writing a C program. The default message descriptor will do for our purposes this time. If this isn't the first MQGet you have issued, you might want to press the Reset MQMD to Default button, which will reset the fields to the values from the MQMD default C structure again. Now click on the MQGMO button to provide fields in the Get Message Options structure. Select the Get Message options you wish to use, holding down the Control key in order to select more than one. You can see the total number being added up for you in the field above the list of options. Now click on the Buffer button and press the Issue MQGet button. You can choose whether you want to display your message as a hex buffer or not. You can toggle between these views after you have made the MQGet call. Now you can view your message contents and check out the output fields that are now filled in your message descriptor and get message option structures when the verb is issued successfully. The APIExerciser can be used with multiple instances of the exerciser window running at the same time, either by starting one from the action menu multiple times or by selecting New Instance from the menu bar on the first instance started. To show you this, we'll step through an example of subscribing in one window and publishing in another window. Start by connecting to your queue manager in each window. Now we switch to the MQ sub-tab. We are going to select the MQSO Managed option in a moment, so we don't need to select anything in the Object Handle field. Before clicking on the Issue MQ Sub button, we will add some information in the subscription descriptor. Select the subscription options you wish to use, holding down the Control key in order to select more than one. Fill in a topic string to subscribe on in the Object String field, and since we have chosen the MQSO Durable option, also fill in a subscription name. Now we can press the Issue MQ Sub button and check out the output fields that are now filled in your MQSD structure when the verb is issued successfully. You will also see at the bottom of the window that this verb has returned you two handles, an object handle and a subscription handle. Now switch to the MQGet tab. We see that one of the handles that were returned to us on the MQ subcall is already chosen for us on the MQGet tab. Provide a buffer length. In the MQGMO, select MQGMO weight and a wait interval of a suitable length, and then press the Issue MQGet button. We will come back to this window later. We are now going to use our other window to publish to this topic. We already saw an example of MQOpen and MQPut, so we will now use MQPut1. On the Parameters tab, the connection handle we will return from the MQCon in this window is pre-filled in for us. Note that you cannot use connection handles from the other instance of the APIExerciser. Think of each instance as a separate application. The MQPut1 verb has three structures, and you will see a button for each one: MQOD, MQMD, MQPMO, and then the buffer. You have seen all of these in the earlier walkthrough. Fill in an object string in the MQOD structure that will match the subscription you just made. You will need to change the structure version number to 4 in order to see these fields and change the object type to MQOT topic. Provide any attributes you want in the MQMD and MQPMO structures. And fill in a message in the buffer. Now press the Issue MQPut1 button. And since our wait interval has not yet elapsed on the MQGet, we can see the message immediately appear in the other window. This concludes our video on the APIExerciser. You can see how useful it can be to explore the MQ API. In future videos, we shall introduce some of the other features of the product. If you have any questions or comments about this video or the product, or would like to be sent a trial license so you can try it out for yourself, then please send an email to support@mqgem.com. Thank you for watching.